to be able to make this thing successful, there are certain things you must do. Okay? For instance, much as you say they mentioned the fee of KRA, at the end of every year, there have to be returns.
Yes.
They are just the structural necessities that a business must have. And a lot of these things require training. That is why earlier on I asked about the training opportunities. Now, there are government institutions that can do that for them.
Yes.
There are people who can help them understand this. And then even when they start a business and as they grow, there's the element of good governance that is required within businesses. Now, if they are to grow beyond what they think, these are things they must understand and they must be taught.
Yes.
Again, let me go back to the question again. When you set these things in motion, what is the success rate? And do you measure the success rate if you do? And what is the failure rate of some of the programs you have in sensitizing and educating the young people?
The success rate when we educate, I will say, is at around 73%.
Yes.
Yeah, and that is why, as a fund, we decided that we must work in synergy with other state corporations that fall within what we do. Like we have had engagements with KIE, we have had engagements with NEA, we have had engagements with the Ministry of MSME, and we have had stakeholders engagements with quite a number of the state corporations, just to ensure that we all come on board and try to create awareness to the youths on what is expected for them to benefit from this government. Yes.
Where do you see it going? If we look at future and the things that can actually be created, and you can draw a line and say, look, we've seen a rise in businesses, or we've seen a rise in the establishment of businesses as a result of the funding that young people, that youth have gotten from this fund. And again, you're looking at 18 to 35, right? And then there's a place where people can come together as a young business. Where do you see it? Where do you see it going in the future in terms of what it can actually do to establish economy building businesses as a result of this 5 billion, however much that's available at one time? You know, where do you see it going?
Okay, I see Youth Fund to be. I wouldn't want, from where it came from. I see it going to be very stabilized in a manner that it is a very more reasonable than it is now for the youths to access credit. I mean, the economy is dynamic, and each time we need to come up with new policies just to keep at par with the changes. And you might want to agree with me, every regime faces its own challenges. Like during the late Mzee Jomo Kenyatta's era, it was all about managing post-independence expectations. During the late Moi, it was all about managing HIV and trying to educate the youths. During the late former president Mwai Kibaki's, it was all about unemployment and illegal gangs. And you know, and the last President Uhuru Kenyatta, it was still unemployment, drug abuse and all that. And now, President Williams Ruto, it's still unemployment and among other things, drug abuse, unemployment and the rest. So I will say that every now and then, the economy keeps on changing, things arise, but as every institution, as a fund, we try to ensure that we prepare policies that we know that in the near future or in future are going to make sure that at least they solve some number of the expected changes that are going to take place. Yes.
How have you dealt with corruption issues at the fund?
Okay.
Whether that be historically before your time or now with certain things that may be said.
By digitizing our processes, you know, everything right now, from the loan applications, the procurement processes, we have a system for that. So it is very well, it's transparent. And then again, with the introduction of the government's payment methods, I mean, that has really dealt with corruption. Yes.
You know, one of the things that is always difficult is having a youth conversation. What the youth want. Even as we implement some of these programs, do you have an idea or do you have a process by which you determine or understand what it is that the youth prefer or how they would prefer certain things to be done?
You know, CT, the youths are very dynamic. even when you see, sometimes you tend to know that or believe that you're actually solving a problem for them. But even if you solve that problem, still you have not solved that problem. You know, like somebody will say our main issues are to access to maybe IT facilities. But again, when you bring those IT facilities, this is just an example. When you bring those IT facilities, still they will tell you that we also have a problem with some other thing. I mean, the whole point here is that you can never solve the issues of, the problems of the youth. And that is why I said life is dynamic, economy is dynamic, and we must try and see we need to balance. Yeah.
You see,
need to strike a balance.
Part of the question I'm asking is answered in your being here. For this reason, you're a youth.
Yes.
Yes. It is not polite to talk about a lady's age, and I will not talk about your age. But you are youthful. I can see that.
I am. Yes. I would probably say I'm 33.
You would probably say, okay.
Yeah, I am proudly. Okay. I'm proud to say I'm 33.
Okay.
Yes.
So it means, even as I asked the question as a youth, you would understand the problems that bedevil
yes.
the generation better than I could.
Yes. Yes. And that is why I'm calling it a spade a spade.
Yes.
Yeah. You know, for us to look to find solutions, we must accept reality. And that's our reality as youths. We have so many challenges. We can never be satisfied with whatever. But like I said, it's because life is dynamic, economy is dynamic. And we must try to strike a balance.
Not being satisfied is not necessarily negative.
Yeah, it's not, but...
It could be that you're ambitious.
Yeah. Yeah, and that is why we need to keep at par with ambitions.
And we do want an ambitious youth, because whether the current leaders or those who are in power like it or not, unless you die young, you will be old. And yes, and
you'll get there.
Yes. And when you're old, there are people who are younger who will take over some of the things that you used to do. Whether you like it or not,
yes.
That is what is going to happen.
Yes.
So isn't it desired that we spend a little more energy than we are currently in looking into the interests of the youth, because they're going to be in charge of this country at some point.
Yes, and we need to, because what we have is the time and energy and resilience. And you tend to see that one of the solutions we could have is innovation hubs. I mean technology. You'll tend to see that through technology, it is very... it is very easy and viable for the supply chains, and then again it is through technology that most of the youths spend most of the time and make a lot of money out of it. I mean, there are so many solutions to it. The only challenge in the community, in the society, is that you're expected as a leader to solve the problems. You have solved some of the problems, or maybe you have solved all, but still people feel like it's still not enough. Maybe there's a list of priority, and you're done with that list, but then people will still have they will still think that there's still more that needs to be done. And that is why this is as a result actually of what I earlier stated, that it is because life is dynamic, the economy is dynamic. So we are bound to expect these changes, but we must be ready for them. Yeah.
Okay. Just matters of clarification. With the Youth Enterprise Development Fund, there has also been the Hustler Fund.
Yes.
And of course there's looking into speculation as to whether the two have been collapsed into one, or whether they're still two separate entities, or who goes where. Can you give your clarification on that?
Okay, the Hustler Fund is doing a good job, but there's a difference between Hustler Fund and Youth Fund. For the Hustler Fund, it's basically help those that are in micro business. But you see, when a youth or anybody who is in a Hustler Fund and wants to grow to an SME, they'll tend to want more capital so that they can boost their business, and that is where we come in as Youth Fund. Again, for Youth Fund, we provide, like I earlier stated, that we provide marketing and linkaging support for these youths, and then again we also provide entrepreneurship skills. We take them through training. So there's a huge difference between Hustler Fund and but I like the fact that Hustler Fund encourages the culture of saving, and I so believe also through Youth Fund we do, because any youth who is doing a business, who has access credit from Youth Fund and does a business, also saves. Yes. Yeah. But the only thing I would maybe propose, there's a youth who recently engaged me His name is John Mark, and he brought this brilliant idea. I am looking forward to see this idea being implemented. He mentioned about an emergency fund. That one thing that the Hustler Fund maybe needs to. The whole point was about anybody can access that fund from maybe I have forgotten my phone and I'm with you on a ride and I urgently need money. I could access it from your phone. So I linked him up with the CEO Hustler Fund. I am hoping that they've engaged and we'll see
what happens. Okay, so even as we wrap this up, I mean, looking at what you encourage young people to do. I mean, still coming off where we started, where you said this is a gem.
Yes.
And there are very many young people, there are very many youth in the country who would need this for a business. What would you say to them today?
Okay. Allow me to talk in Swahili so that yule kijana mwenye yako mashinani aweze kufahamu kwamba kuna idara ya serikali inaitwa Youth Enterprise Development Fund, na ningehamasisha kwamba waweze kujitokeza kwa wingi, wachukue, na wanapochukua at least waweze kujitokeza na kuelezea faida waliopata kupitia Youth Fund, so that we can have the other youths also know more about Youth Fund and benefit from it. But also again, it is a revolving fund. Forget about what the elected leaders, some of them who will say that ni pesa yenu chukueni. Please, when you take this fund, please return the money so that it can benefit another youth and grow the economy of this nation.
Indeed.
Yes.
Good words, and thank you very much for being with us. I mean, just enlightening and opening up our minds to understand exactly what happens here.
Yes.
And then as a resource for many young people around the country. Thank you for being here this hour. Fatma Barayan is the chairperson of the Youth Enterprise Development Fund. She's been our guest this hour. Thank you for being here, and we look to further conversations in the future.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.